Today's video is going to be an emotional one. I want to talk about the grief that parents of autistic children sometimes feel during the holidays, and I'm not sure I can get through this without some tears myself, but I'll do my best. Every year around this time, I talk with parents of autistic children who tell me the same quiet truth. I love my child, I love my family, and the holidays still break my heart a little. And I get it. I've lived 26 years of holidays with my son, and they've taught me more about love, expectation, and resilience than anything else in my life. For a number of years, my entire extended family would get together, close to 50 people, all going out to Thanksgiving dinner. My son couldn't tolerate that kind of sensory overwhelm, so he and I would stay back at the hotel when everybody else got together for Thanksgiving, just the two of us, sitting on the bed, watching videos, while the rest of the family created the kind of memories that I thought I'd be a part of. And here's the part that no one else talks about. It was heartbreaking. And it was a relief. I didn't have to be on edge, bracing for the moment it all fell apart, but I also grieved the moment I never got to have. If any part of this feels familiar to you, this video is for you. I'm not here to tell you, look on the bright side or focus on the magic. I'm here to give voice to and put into words why the holidays bring up such complicated emotions and how to navigate them with self-compassion and clarity. I'm hoping to share with you some of the lessons I learned over a really long time to help you get there sooner. Today we're going to talk about 3 types of holiday grief that parents rarely name, but many of us feel. We're going to talk about how to move through them in a way that honors your heart, your child, and your family. So the first type of grief I want to talk about is the grief of lost or changing traditions. No one warns you that the holidays will ask you to let go of things you didn't even know you were attached to. We all grow up with certain images, the matching pajamas, the big family dinners, the cousins all playing together, the perfect holiday photo. And then you have an autistic child, and suddenly those traditions don't just not work, they feel impossible. In my big extended family, all the cousins adored each other. They'd run around, invent games, laugh for hours. My son was always on the outside of that circle, not because anyone was unkind. The kids were wonderful, but because he didn't know how to enter the play. He couldn't converse with them. He couldn't follow. And I grieved that. I grieved for him, and I grieved for my daughter, because she adored him and she watched out for him. But I wanted her to have the freedom to enjoy her cousins without scanning the room, without worrying about what he might need. I wanted both of my children to feel included. It's the kind of grief that parents don't talk about. Not the big dramatic kind that anyone would notice, but the quiet ache of those moments you imagined but never got to have. I don't know about you, but both kinds make me kind of teary, just in different ways. But here's the truth I did eventually learn. The traditions are supposed to serve the family that you actually have, not the family you imagined. I didn't lose joy. I found new pathways to it. And I know that sounds like all neat and tidy, and it didn't evolve that way. But I started to recognize that my son was having a good time playing all by himself, that he loved being nearby the cousins, even if he couldn't engage. And I learned to focus on that joy. I hope that reframe helps you alleviate some grief. The second kind of grief is the grief of comparison and invisible overwhelm. So grief definitely sneaks in through comparison. You see other families going to parades and tree lightings and big dinners, and their kids effortlessly joining in, everybody smiling, and you think, why can't we do it like that? Why is everything so hard? Why does my child have to work so much harder just to exist in these spaces? And you feel that grief because you want the world for your child, but you wish the world made things just a little easier for them. For years, my family couldn't go to any group activity, not a party, not a gathering, not a holiday event, unless my husband and I each stayed with one child. One of us with our daughter, one of us with our son. It was the only way that things worked, and I know how lucky I am to have such a dedicated parenting partner. I know so many parents are trying to do this alone, and dividing yourself between children simply isn't an option. We were never a family together at these events. Many times, one of us just stayed home with our son, and we didn't even attempt to attend these things. So my daughter attended with just one parent each time. We were 2 parallel teams trying to get through the night without anyone falling apart. And I grieved that too, not because I wanted the perfect Hallmark moment, although maybe I did, but because I wanted togetherness. Just one simple moment where we were all doing the same thing at the same time. And I want to make it clear, this grief is not about your child. It's about the gap between the support they need and the world they're expected to find. It's also about the invisible work that you're carrying all the time that no one else sees. And the reason I want to talk about all this is not to complain. It's because when I was back going through it, I felt so alone, and I didn't have the words to describe what I'm now describing. It took me a lot of years to understand the perspective. So I am hopeful that sharing this helps you with your perspective and helps you feel less alone. Let's move on to the third type of grief. Grief of wanting to protect your child from judgment. This doesn't just happen around the holidays, it happens all the time. But the holidays put us in front of extended family, and family, bless them, often have opinions. You might hear comments about behavior, food preferences, tolerance, discipline, flexibility, and it puts you in a protective posture faster than anything else. That instinct is love, but underneath it, there's grief. The grief of knowing your child is vulnerable to misunderstanding. The grief of wanting others to see their gifts, but fearing they'll only see the struggle. The grief of trying to shield your child from every uninformed comment, every raised eyebrow, every comparison. And then there's this extra layer. Once my husband and daughter spent an entire day shopping for a gift for my son. And after hours of careful searching, they came home with bags and bags for her. And for him, they came home with a plastic trash bin. I was crushed to the thought that this was his gift, and crushed by the reality that it was perfect. He loved water, he loved pouring water, and that trash bin brought him so much joy. But inside me was this quiet grief. I wish the world made it easier for him to love what he loves. Whew. I wish delight didn't require so much translation, so much interpreting, so much scaffolding for the world to understand why this mattered to him. And then the mother guilt kicks in, and here's where it gets really messy, because I felt guilty for grieving. Like somehow my grief meant I didn't love him enough, or I didn't accept that this was his passion. But grief and love aren't opposites, they're dance partners. Because of course I wanted him to have what made him happy, but I also wanted that moment of shared delight that the holidays promise. And holding both truths is what parenting an autistic child often is. Let's talk about how to move through holiday grief without pretending it isn't there. I'm not going to give you a list of 5 holiday hacks. This isn't about hacks. This is about your heart. Here's what I learned that I want to share with you. First, that naming the grief doesn't make you ungrateful, and it's not a negative comment about your child. It makes you honest, and honesty is where relief begins. Second, adjusting expectations is not lowering the bar, it's releasing the pressure. Your child doesn't need magic, they need regulation, safety, and connection. Third, choose 1 or 2 meaningful moments instead of fighting the whole season. The holidays aren't graded on volume. Fourth, you're allowed to build holidays that look nothing like anyone else's and still call them beautiful. Fifth, your child's joy matters more than anyone else's comfort or approval. Full stop. And most importantly, number 6, you're allowed to feel joy and grief at the same time. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It means you're a human raising a human. If this video brought up memories or emotions for you, I want you to know you're not alone. Holiday grief isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're paying attention. It's a sign you care deeply. It's a sign that you're carrying love in a world that wasn't built with your child in mind. Which of these 3 griefs hit hardest for you this season? I'd love for you to drop a comment. I read every single one. The more we name these experiences, the more compassion we can extend to ourselves, to our children, and to other families walking similar paths. If you want more support as you navigate the holidays or any season with your autistic child, I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. I'll see you in the next one.